Hello, good people. Emmanuel Sani Safali here, bring you the Promise Show. I want to talk about pensions, unit trusts, and generally social protection. So, when you talk about social protection in Uganda, most people will talk about the Public Pensions Act of 1958. I think it was amended later, 19 either 75. Actually, I had to adopt the International Labour Organization Act, or the Pensions Act they had, which is generally set up to protect workers' retirement benefits. So when you're still young and working and energetic, you're supposed to contribute some money, of which your employer is actually supposed to contribute some money as well for your pension, and you also contribute. So there is voluntary, then there's also the mandatory one, contributory. So depending on the institution, but mostly the public service one is a little bit more clear. Though in terms of the returns, that's where we see discrepancies. So what causes all that is actually the trust deed, and the trust deed is composed of the people you put or you elect to monitor that scheme and how it's working, what kind of benefit it's getting for the members, so that they're all protected, and to have a very harmonized retirement session. So you need to plan and know that old age is there. You have to plan for it. You can't rely on your grandchildren or your children to take care of you. You must have protected yourself when you still work. Actually, the moment you start working, you have to start preparing for your retirement. So I talked about the public service sector uh, pensions act, but there's also the private uh, Pensions Act of 1985, which we call actually the National Social Security Fund Act of 1985, which stipulated that members will be contributing 5% of their salaries, and the employer will contribute the 10%, which made actually NSSF Uganda one of the best social security protection funds in Africa. Actually, at the world over, it really gives very good benefits. So what matters is now how it is run, how the terms of investment they have made, and of course, I think we're going to call NSSF one time to give us actually their amended act, since we were hit by COVID, and I think last year, the year 2020, over 2 million people who were regularly saving with a fund, about 10,000, 100,000 of them dropped off because most of the employees were either going through financial distress or had closed business as a result of the COVID pandemic. Now that the NSSF Act Cap 222 has been amended, the fund has the mandate to provide for midterm benefits and also offer other benefits which would provide relief to members as per the NSSF Act Amendment Bill, which hasn't been passed into law by Parliament yet, and also had to be signed by President Museveni, who has still um, said put a hold to it for now. Now, the difference between now pensions, which require the trustee, they require people to monitor, to keep supervising the funds, how they are invested, that usually takes a longer process. That's why we many insurance companies and also financial investment funds came together and said, under this act of collective investments, there was something that was amended so that they could not, also individual players would invest and also plan for their old age by having smaller funds that don't require so much regulation, don't require so many people to make a decision. So we have what we call unit trust, for instance, and there are also the personal pension plans and by other fund managers, the number of them, and we shall be bring the particular company to talk about these services as when the time allows and when they are ready to come and go to the public to talk about their service. But what are the benefits of having these unit trusts? For instance, the unit trusts and the personal pension plans require you don't have to seek anyone's authority as long as you have the willingness to save money. Of course, these days, money has to come from your bank account to the bank account of the person or the company that is investing on your behalf. So once you do that, the minimum requirement is usually 100,000 on a monthly basis, and they show you how your money is going to grow depending on the time frame. So the other benefit of unit trusts and personal pension plans is they are more flexible. They are not restricted to that old age or like the requirement which requires that, like for the group ones, the corporate ones, they require that you only get out at early retirement age, usually say about 55. Right now, the amendment bill of NSSF is saying that up to the age of 45. But of course, that's the midterm access. It means you will just be getting half or even a quarter, not all the money. You will only get all the money at full retirement age, which is the age of 65. So this one requires, for unit trusts, you can actually even just invest for 1 year or even 3 months. Can even be 1 month. That's the minimum requirement for most of the investments. And what are the benefits? The other benefit that you get, like all other, like also the pension plans, the big ones, you get a tax benefit, meaning there is no tax, whether income tax, whether pay, that is charged upon maturity. Once you get this money, because it is meant to take care of your old age, they shouldn't really tax you upon uh, gaining your entering into retirement. They should actually tax you when you're still working. Yeah, you pay the several taxes in everything that you purchase, and even be the fuel that you use every day to work. But upon retirement, all the money you get should be tax free. It's exempt. So it also works the same way for people who have come under investment clubs to invest together and we get a good return. Of course, now the challenge is where are you going to invest to get a good return? All right, this is an example, an illustration of the power of compounding interest, which shows that if you start investing early, uh, this example shows someone saving about 100,000, assuming 8% interest annual growth with a monthly interest compounding. So, an example shows someone age 25, if they start saving 100,000, up to the age of 45, they would have saved up to 24 million. But the interest, because we're compounding it over that period of time, they would have accumulated about 35 million with interest. Yeah. So it's, if they push it to the age of 50 for 25 years, they would have saved up to 30 million, but the return would be up to 65 million, 65.7 million. And if they stretch it to the age of 60, they would have put in 42 million, but it would have grown to about 188 million. So that is quite something significant. Now, for someone who is 40 years, if they save, they would have saved about 6 million for 5 years. That's up to the age of 45. But there will be a return, an interest of about 1.3, 1.39 millions. That's just interest on top of your savings. And then if they save for 10 years, that up to the age of 50 years, they would have put in about 12 million, but the return on it would be 6.4 million. Now, if they save for 20 years, they would have saved 24 million, but the return on it, just the return, would be 35 million. So, plus their principal, they will be getting about 67 millions. So that's the power of compounding interest, which you can't get with a normal saving um, plan in a bank with a bank account. No, you can't get that with that unless you have a fixed deposit, and fixed deposit require more investment compared to this, which has just a simple return or contribution of about 100,000 shillings, which is also flexible. You can get it at any one time that you have the need for it. So this is how compounding unit trust would work, and I believe you will start to take it on more seriously. So I urge all of you right now to embrace the unit trusts, embrace also the corporate pension plans that are out there that are run by organizations. You have to request that they and demand for it actually, because this is something that was set up by the International Labour Organization. It's run by UN, and it is to protect all workers in this world so that you can have a dignified retirement, retirement age or retirement planning. So you start now when you're still strong. Even in the times of COVID, the new normal, you still have to plan for all this. So there's a lot more we shall bring you. And with this, since we have just marked Labor Day, I believe we shall take this very seriously and we begin acting on it. Till next time, I remain Emmanuel Sanisafali, bring you this promise show. Remember to hope for the best while preparing for the worst. I sign out. Thank you.